I never felt anything like it before. I'm in my own.
I think you know who I am.
The Nicaraguan people we met hated the contrast for all the pain and suffering they had caused them.
And since there's no hot water, that he had to boil some.
I'm 23, and now I've decided to enlist in the United States Army.
We stay here, he's not going to make it.
Out of the whole world, which city's transit system is like the worst on time on record?
Do you know the answer, but you're quizzing me?
Answer, yeah.
It's probably the New York City subway.
New York City is the richest city in the richest country in the world, and we have one of the most subpar operating subways in the world.
Do you find the MTA reliable?
It's reliable because I know it's going to be delayed. Experience with MTA. As of the last 5 years or so, it's gotten progressively worse. It's too many people, not enough trains, there's always delays, and we're always getting to work late, which causes some of us to lose our jobs. And I'm tired of being squished, and I'm tired of delays, and I'm tired of the train breaking. Yeah, that's about it.
Governor Cuomo says he's also had enough. He declared a state of emergency at the MTA, saying the whole system is decaying rapidly.
The current state of decline is wholly unacceptable.
A year and a half after the governor declared a state of emergency, the MTA is still in trouble. We had a couple of questions before making this documentary. How did the trains get so bad? And who's responsible?
Watch the city go by. All this motion is controlled by more than 13,000 signals. You've seen them. The red lights, the poles passing as the subway gets us from here to there.
According to the New York Times, the subway signal system identifies where the trains are and uses this information to control when trains can move down the tracks.
The MTA needs to prioritize upgrading the signaling system. It is still running on the same 100-year-old signaling system is kind of the reason why we experience so many delays every day.
New York City subway signals are so outdated that they can't precisely identify the locations of the trains. So, trains need more room between them to avoid crashing into each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, to maintain even spacing of trains, this train will be held in the station momentarily.
More room between trains means we have to wait longer to catch the next train. And when the outdated signals fail, the train stops entirely and creates even more delays. Other cities use a new high-tech signal system called CBTC. Only 2 New York City trains use this new system, the 7 and the L.
Well, I used to be a conductor, yes. And customers don't like to hear delay announcements or anything wrong. They come right to us like we're the ones that caused the problem, or we did something to them. It's not our fault for the delays, but people do. They're gonna see us in uniform. We work for MTA, so they're gonna come and attack us or verbally abuse us or anything.
The person who should be held accountable for the state of New York City subways is the person who is in charge of it, which is essentially Governor Cuomo. Although he has stated that MTA is not his responsibility, it 100% is.
The governor has been in control for the last 8 years, and he certainly deserves a share of the blame because he decided to do cosmetic things instead of fixing actual service.
The 2nd Avenue subway opens to riders this Sunday at noon, but I managed to get an exclusive look at it with the guy who finally helped make it happen, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo.
It's very open. It should give you that sense of space. You're not claustrophobic.
Lots of art. Why was that so important?
Even if a child never walks into a museum, just their daily experiences.
Despite needing to update the signals, many people criticize the MTA for spending money on the wrong things.
In addition to Wi-Fi, touchscreens, and digital displays, the MTA has spent billions on more expensive projects that don't improve the subway system.
According to Vox, the 2nd Avenue subway costs $4.45 billion for 2 miles of track. It's the most expensive subway in the world and it only benefits 4 stops. According to the New York Post, the Fulton stop costs $1.4 billion for just 1 subway station.
Why do these stations exist? Well, the 2nd Avenue stations are in the wealthy spots in the Upper East Side. The Fulton station is in the wealthy financial district. A day before we recorded this, the L train shutdown was canceled, but work continued on the Bedford Avenue station in heavily gentrified Williamsburg. While the Bedford Avenue stop on the L is being upgraded with digital displays, elevators, and safer platforms, the same cannot be said about stations further down off the L line. The Broadway Junction stop in East New York seems to be ignored.
We are right next to Broadway Junction at the J train entrance.
Yeah, this is an abandoned J train entrance. I don't know why, but like, for as long as I've been here, this has never ever been open. It's open. This is really creepy. There's this stairwell right beside my house. It's pretty creepy. It's a place where a lot of homeless people go and sleep. Every single day you see at least 3, 4, 5 homeless people, and they're always there, and it's always the same people over and over and over again, and they're constantly asking for the same things, and it's just like, there really is no point in helping them because they're still there. I believe that they should remove them and put them in shelters and just remove them from the general public, because I feel like a lot of them have mental health issues and a lot of it's untreated, so it's endangering the welfare of the public.
First, I have to say that the homeless epidemic in New York City is insanely crazy, man. It's tragic. Can you imagine if every time you encountered a homeless person, you would give them encouragement and positivity? You wouldn't see people give up so quickly.
In October 2018, New York City Transit President Andy Byford unveiled a plan to crack down on homeless people on the subway. According to Byford, managers can leave the homeless alone if they are sitting on one seat, but they should call police if they witness someone lying across the seat or exhibiting antisocial behavior.
The transit police department gives it to us quite often, especially about seeking shelter when the weather is bad. They're like either get on the train or get out, and if you're on the train and they come through, there's so many different ways that they nitpick us, and even at times cite us with tickets or take us to jail. I mean, we have accepted a system of classism where people that have money, we idolize them, and people that have nothing, we despise them and consider them despicable. We're just poor, not bad people.
Yeah. Now that these homeless shelters and these men's shelters have like popped up, that more homeless people and specifically men have started showing up in the train station. Yes, I feel very safe at Broadway Junction because the precinct is right there, but at the same time, I don't feel safe. It's safe, but at the same time, it's not safe.
According to a study from NYU's Rudin Center for Transportation Policy and Management, women spend on average about $1,200 more than men each year on taxis or ride shares over fears about their safety on public transportation.
About 30% of women surveyed said they don't take public transportation late at night over fear of harassment, theft, or assault, something that 75% of the women say they already experience on public transportation.
Women's feeling like they were unsafe traveling on the subway at night would spend more money on cabs. Moms with young kids not being able to travel easily with their children by themselves, they would spend more money on cabs. But there's a lot more low-income people that don't necessarily have that option.
So I see a lot of like elderly people, people with baby carriages, people with wheelchairs. Anybody who like can't walk properly has like a lot of issues going up and down the stairs because there is a lot of stairs at Broadway Junction and there are no elevators or ramps, so it's fend for yourself basically.
Broadway Junction is one of the many stops in the city that aren't wheelchair accessible.
You guys know the numbers. Many people don't, and they're surprised when they hear them, that it's less than a quarter of subway stations are accessible.
The Americans with Disability Act of 1990 guaranteed equal rights and accessible public transportations for people with disabilities. 3 decades later, only 23% of the city subway stations have elevators.
When not everyone can access the subway, it's incredibly unfair, and frankly, with the Americans with Disabilities Act, it's illegal.
I have not been in a wheelchair all my life. I had an accident in 2011 and I lost part of my left foot. And I noticed dramatically how my life changed transportation-wise. I wasn't able to get on the bus as easy as normally. I wasn't able to get on elevators because they were constantly broken.
There's a huge mental stress component that comes in because of that, because you never know. So you're always like, you're on the subway and you're like, shoot, I don't want to be late for this meeting. I hope the elevator's not out of service.
The MTA has been doing this for a long time. They've really been putting people with disabilities, mothers with strollers, the elderly, poor people, as they say, black and brown people. They've been putting us on the back burner for too long. And it's time that we stand up and make something happen. Show the MTA, you are for the people, you work for the people, and you have to give the people what they want.
We wanted to focus this documentary on the communities most impacted by the bad train service and the design of the subway system.
As we started producing this film, we learned that the MTA planned to raise the MetroCard fare in March 2019.
I think they're looking for a way to plug up the holes in their budget, and they're placing the onus of that onto the riders.
Every year it goes up, and you have to remember that the cost of living in New York is very, very high. To keep raising the MetroCard fare just makes a hardship for all of us.
How much money do we pump into you guys every single day or every hour at that, and you still need more money?
I don't have a job. I'm unemployed, paying for my education. It's unfair to New York residents.
See, the people that make these decisions, they don't ride the subways. They have no empathy for what we go through down here.
On November 27, 2018, the MTA held a public hearing in Manhattan to hear the public's thoughts on the proposed fare increase.
And we don't think it's fair to have a 9% increase for bad service and a lack of elevators and lack of working elevators. So that's why we're out here in the cold protesting, because we want people to know, and we want the MTA to know that we mean business.
There was a lot of protesters there, disabilities right people trying to protest against the MTA raising the fares and how it wasn't accessible to them. And so once I finally got inside, it was I don't know, I've never actually seen anybody on the board or any pictures. So when I saw them, and most of them were older white men who were bald, and I was like, well, this isn't surprising.
Hello, my name is Alexis Stewart, and I'm from Educational Video Center. And right now we're working on a documentary about, does the MTA try to disenfranchise low-income communities and communities of color? So, we have a couple questions. Will the fare increase fund ramps and elevators? Well, you can't answer the questions.
I asked one question, and I'm like, they're not answering. And then this woman next to me is like, they don't answer questions. So I was really disappointed that they didn't answer any of the questions, because I don't understand the point of the hearing. But they're not going to answer any of the questions, but they want the public to voice their concerns. But if you voice your concerns and you can't have your questions answered, what's the point of the hearing?
They are obligated to have these hearings, and so they have them, but without any kind of dialogue, because the board just listens and people speak, but there's no dialogue and no questions are not answered, complaints are not addressed. The current way that those hearings are set up, it feels like the citizens of New York are being dismissed.
As fare increase, so does the number of people jumping the turnstile.
According to AM New York, the MTA reports that 208,000 subway riders jump the turnstile each day. They say that cost them $215 million this year. In December 2018, the MTA vowed to crack down on people who don't pay the fare.
The way the police responds to this problem exposes racial discrimination.
As you get out further from the city center into poorer neighborhoods of color, you'll find that not only is the service worse, but it's also infested with police, right? Who are waiting to catch fare evaders and then throw them in prison for basically not being able to afford a fare that nobody should be paying anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
According to the Community Service Society, in the first 3 months of 2017, 90% of people arrested for jumping the turnstile were Black or Hispanic.
For whatever reason, we decided that we weren't going to pay. And as we sort of come around and come out, 2 cops come right up to us and nab us. And we talked to them, and I think they saw how sort of depleted we were and sad that they ended up letting us go, which was really nice because it's like a $70 fine, I think.
How are you trying to tell our brothers and sisters you're going to pay more when you're not getting what you should have right now? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in any aspect.
On December 10, 2018, the MTA held another public hearing in Brooklyn.
Growing up, I never paid attention to the MTA and what they did. Money wasn't a worry to me because I didn't have to pay the fare. Since I've been alive, which is not that long, the fare has been raised 4 times. As I started having more knowledge over the years, I noticed how the raise was affecting not only my mom as a single parent, but also everybody struggling with money. You say that the fare increase will improve the service, but watch nothing change, and in a couple years you'll be asking for more money. You guys probably don't care about what a 16-year-old has to say or any young person, and you aren't worried about what the people have to say because regardless of the hearing, you'll still raise prices. And all of you will never understand the struggle that we go through as students and workers on the MTA buses and trains. Some people lose their jobs, and students lose class time because of the delays, but we don't get that time back. I doubt that you use the MTA service yourselves because these issues would have been already resolved a long time ago. Start with the train service signals and elevator access for disabled people. Get your stuff together and show us that you're going to use our money to better the crappy service that we get. Las personas ahí del MTA se notaba que a ellos no le importaban nada que decían la gente porque usted los podían ver en el teléfono.
At the speech, the MTA board members weren't really paying attention. They were on their electronic devices. I can tell that they're not going to change anything. And even though they did the hearing, I feel like they're still going to raise the prices or do whatever they want. Here is where we should state that the MTA does have plans to fix the issues we've been discussing.
This past year, Andy Byford, the MTA president, proposed a fast-forward plan. And so that's the most progressive plan that we had on the table.
Byford was hired to shake up the tired old system. He crafted a grand modernization plan that calls for hundreds of station renovations, thousands of new subway cars, and more state-of-the-art computer signal controls that can run trains faster and more frequently.
These are all very good things. The challenge for MTA is getting this funded. Any improvements to our system will cost a lot of money.
The Fast Forward program will cost $30 billion, and no one knows where that money will come from. Understanding that the price of a MetroCard is becoming too expensive for some New Yorkers, the city government passed the Fair Fares program.
So Fair Fares is a subsidy for discounted MetroCards for low-income New Yorkers. And so that's any single individual who is falling below the poverty line, so the federal poverty line of $12,500 annually.
The MTA and Governor Cuomo won't answer our questions, but we're still going to ask. Will the MTA partner with services that can help the homeless after they are thrown out of the train?
What can be done to prevent sexual harassment on the train? Where will the money come to fund Fast Forward? Will the Broadway junction stop continue to be ignored now that the L train shutdown is canceled? Did the shutdown even need to happen, or was it a way to give money to construction companies that fund the governor's campaign? Was the L train shutdown canceled because you wanted to take attention away from the fact that the MetroCard fare is going up?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are being held momentarily by the train's dispatcher. Thank you for your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, because of construction, this train is being held momentarily. We apologize for any inconvenience.
the city actually just approved Amazon gave $1.6 billion in tax incentives to Amazon, and y'all are gonna sit here and tell us that you're gonna squeeze working class and poor people even further?
But the people need to have a say. Like, the people would never, ever, ever have told you, oh, we want to use like half of our money to build an amazing mall, station, like $1 billion station in Wall Street. Like, none of us care, none of us go there.
We are the people fighting for the city. We make up the city. The people on Wall Street and all those big fat cats up in Albany, they are not the people. We are the people. We are the blood of this city, so please allow it to keep pumping.
The stations and trains are falling apart. And guess where our cool rooms, our locker rooms, our bathrooms are? They're in the stations. We're in solidarity with the people. We don't want the fare to go up. We want better service. We want better conditions for our customers and for us. We're with you guys. We're trying our best. You know, we come in on the holidays, on the weekends, overnight. We work 3 shifts. The train never stops for y'all. We don't stop for y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, because of construction, this is the last stop. Please follow the instructions from the train crew.